The script editor is a powerful tool that can bring realism to your simulation. It frees the operator from having to monitor every entity and their behavior. In this video, we'll show you some of the features in the script editor that you would most likely use. I've created a simple situation. A tank is driving into a village, and a donkey blocks his path. I could try to be quick with my inputs and have the tank slow to a halt and have the donkey move out of the way just in time, but I don't want to leave things to chance. So instead I'll use a script editor to manage that. Go to Entity Controls and click on the script editor icon to open it. You will see that it's divided into 3 sections. The top section manages the individual scripts. The middle section defines the trigger. A trigger is something that causes your desired action to begin. Lastly, we have the action section. This is the desired result that you want after the trigger has occurred. I keep this straight by calling each section what, if, and then. The more complicated your script, the more you'll find that your effort will resemble computer scripting. So for this demonstration, we'll keep things very simple. First, I need to define a script in the top section. Click Add Script to begin. Again, this is my what. So I'll call it Donkey Moves Off-Road. It's good to clearly state what the script is so you can keep them straight if things get complicated. So next we need to set the trigger. This is the if. The donkey is stubborn, so let's have him move off the road when the tank gets to waypoint 1, just in time. Click Add Trigger and then the Entity tab. Then I will select Waypoint Arrival. I'm going to choose the M1A2 by using this Add from Map tool and choose waypoint 1. As you can see, there are a lot of conditions to choose from to set your trigger, including other scripts being active and moments in time. The Persist Met status selection is for complex conditions where multiple triggers are needed to complete an action. It essentially dictates that the trigger is considered complete. If this scenario were a little bit more complicated, I could have the donkey slowly crossing the road. One of the triggers could be a proximity trigger. Another could be the tank reaching waypoint 1. Since the donkey is moving, that trigger isn't going to be the desired value all the time. By selecting the Persist Met box, I'm stating that if the donkey attains the distance even for a moment, that trigger is valid. But we'll just keep this simple and use one trigger of the tank reaching waypoint 1. We're almost ready to define our then portion. But let's review some other parts of the trigger section. You can edit or delete a trigger, or move it up or down on the list. This allows you to organize your triggers. At the bottom, we have the trigger condition. You have 2 choices, and or. Or means that only one satisfied trigger is necessary to perform the action, and means that all these triggers must be met before the action will happen. Since we have just only one trigger, this setting doesn't really matter much right now. Now we will define the action. I'm going to choose the Navigation tab and assign this action to be the donkey. You can see here that I can also assign groups. This is a very useful tool if I had a herd of donkeys. I'll command the donkey to rally to a point on the side of the road. I'll click on the Choose from Map tool and click in the mission area. We have some choices on what to do and when the action is complete. By default, the setting is Stop Execution. Essentially, when it's done, it is done. You can select Stop Execution and disable triggers. This means that once the action is complete, you don't intend for it to happen again. Stop Execution and Enable Triggers means the opposite. So if the conditions are met again, the action will happen again. Lastly, Repeat Actions means that you want to perform the action continuously. Before we are ready to go, let's make sure that we have armed our script. Click the Triggers Enabled box to do so. You may have scripts that you have created, but choose not to let them run in your particular scenario. The Executing box next to it has 2 functions. It indicates if the script is executing, but if you check the box while the mission is running, you will force the action to occur. Likewise, unchecking the box will cancel the script's action. I've created a route for my tank and set waypoint 1 in a likely spot that gives enough time for the donkey to move. I'll save the mission and let's run it. Well, the donkey moved off the road, but the driver of the tank didn't really care if he ran over the donkey. So let's change how the tank reacts. I could just add another action to my script that makes the tank stop and then go again, but let's try something else. It may not be the simplest example, but it'll illustrate a point. I'll add an action on the donkey script to begin the next script. First, I'll define my tank stops script. Notice the index on the side. This is number 2. When I add an action, I will choose the Scripting tab and select Start Script 2. That means when the donkey begins moving off the road, the tank stop script will begin. So let's create the tank's triggers and actions. Notice that when I select the script that the triggers and actions will change. Let's add the arrival point at waypoint 1 trigger just like before. For an action, let's command the tank to halt by selecting it under Tactic. Easy enough. Now let's get the tank moving again, but first let's put in a delay of about 5 seconds, like this. Lastly, we'll command the tank to continue on to waypoint 2 at a speed of 35 miles an hour. Choosing Intent will command the tank to stay in intent mode, and clicking on Speed 2 will ensure that the tank accelerates back up to 35 miles an hour. Without that checked, he'll stay at a stop with a speed of 0. Let's save the mission and give it a try. Good. Now you can see how running these scripts can free up your attention during runtime and allow you to keep your mind on other things in your simulation. Again, you can make it simple like I've just shown you, or as complex as you like.